Well, thank you very much for your kind invitation and introduction. I'm really delighted to be speaking to you here today. I think it's a fabulous initiative, The Future Me. And today it's all about you. And I'm going to try and sort of tell you some bits of information that somebody would have told me when I was around your age, a very long time ago now. So I've reflected back and I've pulled out some advice that the 20-year-old me would have benefited from and appreciated. So I do hope you find it useful. I consider myself very fortunate. I've had a career sort of that's almost sort of 40 years now. It's been very enjoyable. I've really liked what I've done. Like previous speakers have said, that there's been some fabulous highs and there have been some lows as well, and some challenges for sure. So as I said in my introduction, at 18, I went to nursing school. In those days, it was a combination of working practically on the wards and being in the School of Nursing for the theory. And I worked as a nurse for 20 years, started as a staff nurse on intensive care, and then worked my way up to sister and a clinical nurse specialist. Had sort of remit of obviously for teaching, for developing audits, for developing training programs, and also clinical work as well. Whilst I was working, I decided I want to do more, I want to learn more, so I enrolled and I did a part-time psychology undergraduate degree, and then that was followed by a master's in management. I had a vision. I visited Pakistan several times with my family who had a business there, and I witnessed street children whilst I was out there, and I aspired to help them. I thought these children are the most vulnerable in society, and I set up a charity which enabled me to establish a school and an orphanage in the mountains of Kashmir. And more recently, we've established a support program for widows there, and also a program of clean water for rural communities in Zambia. I'm also embarking on a new project in Manchester, which is to tackle domestic abuse within the Muslim community here. I also freed up some of my time to give back and to be of service to the community. I became involved with Interfaith dialogue, I became a school governor, I became a trustee of the local mosque and the British Muslim Heritage Centre, and I was appointed chair for the regional board of the charity Remembering Srebrenica, where we use the lessons of the genocide that happened in the Balkans to educate against hate here in the UK. I currently serve on the Greater Manchester Rates Equality Panel, where we advise, support and challenge policymakers and political leaders to tackle discrimination and disadvantage that cause prejudice and injustice here in Manchester. I was appointed a Deputy Lieutenant in 2018, and Deputy Lieutenants are appointed by the Lord Lieutenant, and we represent His Majesty the King here in Greater Manchester, and that gives me the opportunity to meet with lots of other voluntary organisations. On a personal note, I'm married, I have 2 children. My daughter Miriam is here with me today, and I've got a son, Zach, as well. And like sort of all working mothers, I've had to learn how to juggle my various roles as well. I do want to emphasise that maybe unlike the previous speakers, it's actually taken me almost 40 years to get where I am today. These are some pointers. The first thing I'd say to you is make your life a priority for you. You have the power and the control to make yourself confident and successful, but first you've got to start by defining who you are, who you want to be, and what you want to achieve to be the full version of who you are. You dream big, but remember that dreams without any goals are just dreams. So who am I? Who do I want to be? My answer is that I'm God's creation, and I aspire to be a reflection of Him in my thoughts and actions, and knowing with the confidence that it is possible for me. I want to fulfill the highest, truest expression of myself as a human being. Don't fear what people think about you or how other people think you should be. There's so many pressures that bombard us to conform, to be a certain way. You can achieve whatever you want. However, based on your values, you must have some form of vision for your life. Even if you don't have a plan, you must have a direction in which you choose to travel. You want to be in the driver's seat of your own life. Otherwise, life will drive you, and time will pass by so very, very quickly. As with any journey, you must set the destination, just like on the car's sat-nav. Even then, if you decide to take a few stops, a few detours, it brings you back on track towards your goals. So the biggest choices begin and end with the internal big questions. What do I want to be in the world? And when you're starting off at your age now, it's actually quite a daunting prospect of what you want to be. I quite like this sort of quote from Rumi, who was a 13th century Sufi mystic, and he was a poet and writer and also considered a wise man. So he asked the question, "Tell me, sir, in which field could I make a great career?" He said with a smile, "Be a good human being. There is a huge opportunity in this area and very little competition." Always do the right thing. Let excellence be your brand. When you become excellent, you become unforgettable. People will remember you, you'll stand out. Do the right thing even if people don't know you're doing the right thing. It's going to be the right thing for you. You'll always know when it's the right thing, when at the end of the day, you feel that inner peace in yourself. That which troubles the heart, but truth brings joyous tranquility. So that which is false troubles the heart, but truth brings joyous tranquility. And that's another of Rumi's quotes there. All of you here today have the potential for enormous success, but there's a price for that. People don't always like you, and they're not happy for you when you are successful. Don't let other people's opinions of you dissuade you or discourage you. Stay true to who you are, like yourself, and be proud of your actions. People who want the best for you want you to be your best. So my advice is surround you with people that will keep filling your cup and enhancing you along your journey. My career has been a journey of lifelong learning. You never stop learning. It refreshes your practice and reinvigorates you and elevates you onto the next level. You create new networks and it instills additional motivation in you as you progress slowly, step by step, towards your goals. For me, being able to study part-time whilst I was working was a real bonus. The pace of study was slower and I could relate the assessments to my work, providing immediate effect in embedding that learning into what I was doing. I would say to you, the advancements in technology make learning accessible in so many different ways, and you will have so many opportunities along your life journey to re-enter education and to continue learning. Learning for me provides confidence and creates self-belief that propels me forward towards my goal. I think that knowledge is power and confidence is key to getting ahead, nudging you forward to embrace rather than avoid challenges that come your way. I want to reassure you that knowledge is always an investment of your time. I no longer work as a nurse. After 20 years in the NHS, I found the courage to step away and venture into a new space and set up a charity, something that I'd aspired to do for some time. Establishing an orphanage and a school in the mountains of Kashmir was a completely new territory for me. The progress there has surpassed my expectations. with the children that came from absolute poverty and destitution there, not even able to brush their own teeth, now enrolling at university and looking at a much brighter future. However, I did have numerous battles with a constant negative chatter. I sort of have labelled it a hyperactive gremlin that occupies my head, telling me, "You can't do it." Thankfully, I managed to silence it or muffle it anyway, and try to ignore those negative rantings. And one of the main ways that I cope with that is through learning and by acknowledging that much of my prior knowledge and experience and skills were transferable, and I could apply them to this work as well. Working in the health service and completing my under and postgrad studies gave me a solid grounding in theory and practice. I worked in senior clinical positions, and my experience allowed me to become a good leader, a critical thinker, a good communicator, and experienced in collaboration and teamwork and being resourceful and resilient as well. These skills are applicable to any role, but if you identify areas that you're less competent in, seek out learning to address this. I'm also an educator. Indeed, we all have an opportunity to educate and to gift others with that education, to shape our future citizens and our society. We have a big responsibility to share our knowledge. When I think back on life and the individuals who had a positive impact on me, it's the ones who've acted with kindness and compassion, whether they be parents, school teachers or colleagues providing feedback at work. These are traits that cost nothing but can be transformative in how it makes other people feel. Stay true to yourself regardless of negative external influences, because kindness and compassion illuminate our world, and it sticks like glue, maintaining equilibrium and cohesion, which will ignite divisions and also provide opportunities for dialogue, friendship, and collective success. I've always enjoyed learning, and for me, education is a continuous process, as I mentioned. Whilst the formal education provides a solid base, it's life experience that truly teaches you as if you're on a never-ending escalator, embedding your knowledge into practice and that into an amazing life journey. The blessed never stop learning. Sometimes we have opportunities and we should always grasp those with open arms. I would urge you to inspire, motivate, aim high with confidence and seek opportunities that allow continuous improvement and growth. This gives you both the breadth and depth of knowledge coupled with valuable experience. My early experiences in the workplace as a student nurse shaped me. We had different placements every 3 months or so. We had a variety of specialties and also exposure to different staff, some that would motivate me and others that wouldn't, and you learn from both. Working on the wards gave me a great sense of achievement. I was constantly learning, and in the process, I had made somebody's day a little bit better. In some way, I had been of service and I had benefited the patients in my care, and this fed the desire to want to do more. Martin Luther King said that not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is defined by service. We live in a world where everyone wants to be famous and where we admire people just for being famous. Service and the significance you bring to that service is that which is lasting. It doesn't matter what you're studying, you can use your knowledge to be of service to others. When you look at the most successful people in the world, they have a paradigm of service. Using what you do as a way of giving back to the world, when you shift the paradigm of whatever you choose to do to serve as a service that brings significance and success to others. As an example, I heard that Oprah Winfrey did an interview that she refused to broadcast because, in her opinion, a 10-year-old boy would never get over the information that his mother willingly shared with Oprah. And she put that 10-year-old boy's welfare ahead of her viewing figures and programme. You must create a vessel of service for yourself first. You have to honour yourself, otherwise you have nothing to give away. These things will not only lead you to a blessed life, it will lead you to a sweet, gifted and rewarding life. Being of service has been a central theme to my working life. And when you have this focus, no matter what career you choose, it will feed your soul and boost growth. There is no better feeling for me than walking up the mountains of Kashmir, surrounded by a crowd of excited children fighting to hold my hand. Children who are performing so well because they were given the opportunity of education and the conditions necessary to shine. I encourage these children to dream big, and to see them grow up and enroll at universities is also the realization of my dream. I dreamed big and took small progressive steps towards achievable goals. What started as an orphanage and school for 60 children 12 years ago now educates over 430 children and is achieving the highest examination results in the region. All of these wonderful young people are the fruits of my dreams and vision. Their legacy forever changed by the gift of education, love and kindness. The alternative for them is way too horrendous to contemplate. Being an active citizen and making life better for the others is a guiding light for me, whether that is from the satisfaction of being a school governor or using the lessons of genocide in the Balkans during the 1990s to educate against hate and discrimination here in the UK. To empower brilliance, we must listen out for brilliance. Praise and feedback really boost progress. I clearly recall how I felt on receiving feedback and how it boosted my development and fed the desire to learn and be of service that I could make a difference. Today, wherever possible, I use praise and feedback that is specific in the hope that I'm helping someone too. Now coming back to this little gremlin of mine. He's an annoying little creature that's located within my head, whispering that I am out of my depth, making me feel fearful and uncomfortable with unfamiliar scenarios. It starts off whispering, but gets louder and louder. You can't do it. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're too ambitious. And so it goes on and on. At this moment, I'm taken back to my first nursing practical assessment, the aseptic technique, where we would be assessed, changing a wound dressing and removing some sutures. At the start of my surgical placement, this seemed almost impossible, especially as it was going to be the rather fearsome matron that was carrying out the assessment. However, with lots of practice, lots of asking questions and peer support, all of my group passed. This feeling that you're not good enough, where you're wondering what you're doing in the room, what value can you possibly add, the anxiety, the self-doubt and the fear of failure is something that has always been with me in some form. And it's particularly acute when you're in unfamiliar situations. It was much later in life that I discovered this thing called imposter syndrome. It's a very common phenomenon apparently, and it affects 70% of our population and possibly even more women. Some of my colleagues and friends that I really looked up to and admired admitted to experiencing it. And doing a little more research, I found that lots of people suffer from it, including Serena Williams, Tom Hanks, and Albert Einstein. The tendency to having a fearful mind stays with you, but for me, the changing point was learning that I wasn't alone, that many others felt exactly the same. Knowing this has made my journey easier. It didn't make it go away. I practice, rehearse, and learn to drown out the voices of the gremlin by focusing on being positive, believing in myself, and learning to prepare for everything. Despite this, my little gremlin sometimes gets the better of me and starts shouting louder and louder until my brain can freeze, and it makes everything seem unachievable. And this is when this downward spiral begins, and it feels like you're on a big dipper going all the way down. But doubt comes from within us, and the fearful mind is almost always trying to take control with a mission to rehearse catastrophes, to scare you out of new opportunities, and to aim missiles at your aspirations. You must firstly identify and recognise your fear, and then talk back to that whispering gremlin with confidence, determination, and kindness. Defying fear likes defying part of yourself, but you have to learn to identify those parts of fear within yourself. Use it to propel yourself forwards and learn to associate it with success and achievement. The good news is that the more you practice, the better you get. Each step forward makes the next one easier. You can't count on anyone else giving you self-confidence. You must learn to be kind to yourself, acknowledge that you are enough and that you will achieve. Skiing is one of my hobbies, and I was fortunate enough to be in the French Alps last week. It's taken me many years and a lot of practice to become a proficient and confident skier that can approach any slope. However, this hasn't always been the case. As a beginner, I recall being halfway down an icy red slope, so fairly steep, and I was only halfway down. And I just froze into inaction. I couldn't move. The gremlin in my head was shouting, "You can't do it. You're going to have to be airlifted off the piste." What was in your mind coming down such a difficult slope? But then I took a deep breath. I focused and rehearsed the technique I needed, and I talked positive to myself and pointed my skis down the mountain, and slowly, turn by turn, I got to the bottom. These moments of self-doubt are always opportunities for self-improvement, and they serve to elevate our competency. Having tackled that difficult icy slope, I no longer feel that fear that I did. My gremlin continues to whisper my fears, just as if it's hardwired into my mind, especially as I approach the unfamiliar or any time I move into something new, do something for the first time, or when the stakes are high. I counter this by reminding myself that most people feel uncomfortable on the first day of a new job, or when presenting to a large audience, or when trying to secure a big contract. But now I see these as challenges, and these moments of discomfort as an opportunity to learn and grow, to take a step up and get closer to my goal. I don't allow my gremlin to scare me anymore. These feelings of negativity were particularly intense when I changed roles. For example, stepping out of a large nursing team on the intensive care unit to becoming a clinical nurse specialist with a remit for the entire hospital. It was a significant step, and one that caused a lot of anxiety and fear for me. The way, again, I tackled it was to do a lot of reading. I enrolled on professional courses, and I surrounded myself by peers that I could trust and could guide me if necessary. When a person succeeds time and time again in the face of fear and self-doubt, or when they're feeling like a fraud, it's the epiphany of strength, courage, and bravery. This is a normal part of personal expansion. Believe me, most things are really scary until you've done them for the first time. I came across another useful quote from Rumi on my social media feed, which strongly resonated with me. Your mind is a powerful thing. When you fill it with positive thoughts, your life will start to change. When we talk to ourselves, we listen, we internalize. The negative introspection affects our performance, our decision-making, our relationship, our happiness, and our health. All of them are in jeopardy. what we say to ourselves matter. Create a habit of being kind to yourself, complimenting yourself, seeking out and giving positive recognition to achievements and milestones. Practice accepting praise, success and promotion. Practice telling yourself that no matter what others think of you, what matters most is what you think of yourself. Instead of calling yourself what you are not, reframe your thoughts to celebrate who you really are: strong, courageous, brave and loved. I like this quote by Maya Angelou, who also experienced imposter syndrome. Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so that you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. My husband, he's an avid Manchester City fan. I apologise for anybody who's not got the same passion. On the odd occasion, I go with him to watch the match at the Etihad Stadium, and the atmosphere there is absolutely electric. And I reflected on why it's such an advantage for teams to play at home, and concluded it's because their fans are there cheering them on with the full belief that their team are going to win. You have to be your number one fan, always cheering yourself forward, even if it is a little scary and victory is uncertain. You believe in yourself. Ultimately, we all want to lead meaningful lives, and we will be provided with many opportunities. You can find a way and believe that you will succeed. You need to commit to your dream, to your success. Direct your energies into realizing that vision. I'd like to share with you some things that I've found useful in supporting sustained and continued growth. At the beginning of every year, I create a vision board with goals and aims for the following year. I get lots of pictures, some Pritt sticks, some highlighter pens, and I draw it all out visually. And to me, that helps clarify my direction of travel for the next year. I place it up on my office wall, and then it's there as a constant visual reminder of your direction of travel for that year. Also, as a nurse, I was initially allocated a mentor, and this was followed with clinical supervision through peers who are all clinical nurse specialists. Subsequently, as my career's evolved, I have benefited from peer support groups that have been instrumental in analysing and clarifying issues and deciding appropriate actions. It's always insightful to see something through someone else's eyes. Friendships and peer support are hugely valuable, and happiness comes from quality relationships and spaces where you are able to be vulnerable and share. More often than not, you will realise that what you believed was a unique challenge shared by many is something that is shared by many, And by collectively reflecting on that, you can address that challenge, and between you formulate a way forward. You need to surround yourself with goodness, people who support, hold you up and help you see solutions and not issues. Life's journey is truly beautiful, and as they say, remember to enjoy the journey. I have found gratitude to be the best medicine. It heals your mind, body and spirit, and ultimately attracts you to more things to be grateful for. Believe me, there are so many that would love to be in the position that you are in today. I treasure what I do, and when you're doing the work that you're meant to do, it feels right. Every day is inspiring. My hope and prayers for all of you is that you will value what you do, and you'll do it with love, compassion, kindness, confidence, and a fantastic drive to be the best that you can. Thank you.